Thanks to its unique formulation, M-Stone is the only quartz material that can be shaped into curves on site. The specialist tools include a pair of diamond router cutters for customizing M-Stone. By using our tooling and following the installation guide, achieving first-class results is easy, but patience is required. M-Stone differs from other products, so please ensure the recommended process is followed. Working with M-Stone is slower than wood-based products. Cuts are made by grinding, so slow and consistent pressure is vital. Excess pressure is counterproductive, increasing wear on your blades and slowing down the process. To start, ensure you're working on a suitable trestle table, with the surface supported on 40mm tall planed timber blocks. It's important that the waste piece is also supported on similar blocks to prevent it falling away and damaging the surface. The M-Stone jig pack enables the creation of radii in 200, 263, 300 and 450mm, including router leveling inserts. If you make your own jig to fit customer requirements, remember to offset for a 30mm guide bush and a 13mm cutter. Encore jigs must not be used with M-Stone. There are 4 steps to the process. 1. Form the basic shape using a 10mm diameter cutter. 2. Complete the shape using a 13mm fine cutter, readying it for finishing. 3. Bevel the newly cut edge. And 4. Finish with diamond hand pads. When setting up to perform the cut, think about your starting position. You should always enter the cut at the front of the face and exit at the rear to avoid chipping the material on exit. The worktop can be either face up or face down, but the section to be cut should always be on your right. Align the jig with the front and side of the surface and clamp it in place. Next, clamp down the leveling piece to prevent the router tilting. The router and jig should be lubricated with a light film of petroleum jelly for a smooth transit across the jig surface. Set up the router with the 10mm coarse cutter. The cut should be made in 4 stages, increasing the depth each time through 6mm, 12mm, 18mm and finally 35mm to finish the cut. Ensure the router is always plunged carefully into the material. You may encounter initial resistance, but the machine will flow at a steady pace. Be patient and let the cutter do the work. Remove the offcuts, balancer and spacer blocks, thoroughly clean the area, reposition all 3 and you're ready for the next step. Reset your router to use the fine cutter, the rotation at 11,000 RPM for Festool routers, and ensure you have the necessary vacuum extraction in place. You make the final cut in 1 full depth pass, removing around 2mm of material. The cutter should be set so it protrudes around 5mm below the underside of the work surface. Start the router and plunge the cutter to the set depth, making sure you do not contact the edge you've cut. Now gently push the machine towards the surface and forward at a slow and steady pace. Never stop with the router running. Always pull away from the edge before stopping, as deceleration can cause friction marks that are difficult to remove. If you need to recut an area, always make a complete pass. Check the quality of the cut and, if necessary, make 2 or 3 more passes. Achieving a good cut here will save time in finishing. Do not reverse the router to recut. Remove the jig when you're happy with the quality of the cut and vacuum clean thoroughly. The next step is to bevel the new edge to marry into the factory finished one. To create a bevel, you'll need a laminate trimmer fitted with an adjustable guide assembly and the diamond bevel cutter from the installation kit. Apply 50mm of masking tape to the surface or an alternative protective layer to prevent damage, and remember to vacuum extract. The router should be set to 12,000 RPM and you should carry out a test cut on waste material to ensure your bevel will match. If you want, you can re-bevel the entire length of the worktop to ensure uniformity. Final finishing is carried out by hand using diamond sanding pads in the installation kit. They're Velcro backed and can be attached to a handheld palm sander, which can be used for the long straight sections. When sanding, both the M-Stone and pad should be kept moist at all times. The process should be started with a 220 grit pad with long smooth strokes followed by a circular motion. This can then be repeated with the 400 grit pad, and if needed, a 120 grit pad has been supplied to remove any bumps or irregularities. Take time to blend the new edge with the factory finished edge. The aim is to make it smooth to the touch. Wash the sanded edge down and allow it to dry. Sanded darker edges may dry a shade lighter than the factory finish. This is to be expected, and a finishing cloth is provided in the installation kit to restore the colour after cutting and sanding. Using a clean wipe from the kit, apply 2 coats to the fresh surface, allowing it to dry in between. It should be left for 24 hours to cure before general use.